I called the house, and my mom answered the phone, and I gave her the rundown of what was happening, and she was like, "Did you take batteries?" I was like, "Mom, I ain't take no batteries." I said, "Come on, you know I would." I don't know what you do. Accountability. She said, "I know how you are around me, but when you are by yourself, boy, I don't know what you do." Like that, that hurt me. I almost like shed a tear. You know what I'm saying? I almost shed a tear.
You know I'm an angel, Mom.
Yeah. That ninja suit didn't work on her. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? She was like, "I don't know what you do." Okay, well, I guess since you say, I better not find out different.
Right.
Yeah. So that for real. Accountability.
That's what's up. Yeah. Well, also transparency. The reason why I'm saying it, because I always try to put myself on Front Street only because when I was coming up, it was like there was a standard that you had to live, but nobody could ever like get to it. It was just up there, and it was just like we all walk around like we were reaching that standard, but we really weren't. And so when I got around somebody who was real transparent, I was just like, man, I wish I would have had that a long time ago, because I don't have to act like this, right? So anyway, so that's why I'm saying what I'm getting ready to say. But I was saying, my husband is a pastor, and I have 4 amazing kids, but I'm gonna tell you what, all of them have their challenges in their own little way. And that's because it goes back to, you talking about, not putting your kids on a pedestal. Yes, my husband is a pastor. Yes, we go to church and we do all of this stuff. But my kids got some challenges. Right. And so, but the thing is, what used to bother me was, when there was a stigma with PKs that, they're supposed to live a certain way when they was the ones that was getting the most trouble. But it was because it was like, you had this.
I'm a PK. I'm a PK.
Yes, you just had like this microscope on you, like you couldn't be like the normal kids. And I get it. You're supposed to be able to control your household and all of that stuff. But this is what I'm trying to get other people to recognize, is that it's not just the mama and the daddy that's raising our kids anymore. It's the community. They go out of here and they spend more time in school than they spend at home. Right. And then they got extracurricular activities and all of this new stuff. Yeah.
Because you're not teaching them anything when they sleep.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, even though I know that there's a lot of core things that when my kids, they'll still be like, Mom, I remember, and you said it, you be like, you had those proud moments when you be like, man, they were listening. And then those many moments when you like, Lord, they not listening. So, I can appreciate the struggle of trying to be that parent and not put your kids on that pedestal, because I was just like, my kids ain't gonna be nothing like that, they ain't gonna do this, they ain't gonna do that. When they did it, I was just like, what the Sam Hill?
My children are 6, 9 and 6, and they come home and tell me things. And they spend a lot of time at school, and they spend a lot of time with people outside of me. So I just know that I need to raise them as best I can, with morals and values and things like that. Because some of the things that they're coming back and telling me that other children have told them, I'm just like, my eyes get big. I'm like, or they'll say something. I'm like, where'd you get that from? What made you say that? I'm constantly asking my children, where'd you get that from? Yeah. And they won't tell me. They have a little loyalty to their parents too. I'm just like, who told you that? I don't teach you that, But I want them to know the right way, the right things. I'm glad that they feel open enough to talk to me because I can tell them the right way or the right things, because obviously they're speaking to children who have not been taught, right ways or whatever. And so hopefully they'll go back and relay the message. I don't know if they will, but I just have to raise them as best as I can. So just think about the children who don't have parents who care, who even listen to what they're saying. Parents who don't even say, hey, how was your day today? Or what did you learn today? Or don't even spend any face-to-face time with their children. So they're going on. So guess who's teaching those children?
The computers. Apps,
other
TV,
kids who don't even know. So we're and that way the kids are not being raised either.
That's true. That's so true. What else you got over there on that paper, Kisha?
Kind of off, but on. We're gonna stop. I think we talked about it in the first segment about, just very briefly, about something about the entertainers and the hip hop culture and all this other stuff, and how our children who are being raised by social media and their friends and all this other stuff, how they're holding these people to a higher regard than they should. And like I think we said also how they don't necessarily live the life that they're projecting, that they're seeing and selling and making their money off of. How how successful can one be to pull the child back and be like, look, just because you see this does not mean that this is really what it is. How can we work that? How can we teach that to our kids or our community? Because y'all know we got to start pulling them in. We got to get a community going. Yeah. But how can we project that properly to the community to, look, he's just a man like you are. She's just a chick just like you. They got to do what you do in the mornings. And stop putting these people up on pedestals, especially the ones that are not giving back. Yeah. Especially the ones that are not coming back and be like, you know, I gotta clean up my image, I gotta clean up my act because I got people looking at me. I got kids walking around here with their pants showing their underwear and all this stuff. How do we take these people off pedestals that don't belong on pedestals? How do we do that and get that back into our kids as a core? Like, look, this is not life. This is not. I mean, you can have things, but that's not the way you gonna get them. Yeah. I mean, you know
without taking it away from them, without saying, okay, you can't watch this or you can't do this, because I know that with my children, like I said, I'm not putting them on pedestal, but a lot of things I don't let them watch, and it's not that I'm trying to take money out of somebody's pocket or I just don't like them to watch certain things. Correct. If I see that TV on something that I don't like, you're gonna turn that channel. Correct. Because I don't like them to put certain images in their head and for them to go around thinking that's life, or that's how I'm supposed to be, or that's how things, or that's okay. But call me the mean mama if you want. I still make my children say yes ma'am, no ma'am. Yes, you know, ma'am. You're not gonna watch certain things. You're gonna hold the door open for ladies. We still have to do this stuff. We still have to be parents, and I put a lot of the onus on us. Yes. On us as parents, we have to get out there and be in our children's lives. I'm a busy woman. We all know that. We're all sitting at this table, very busy people. But my priority is my children. Yes. That 9 and that 6-year-old depend on me. And I'm my husband too. I'm just talking about me at this point. I have to be a mother. He has to be a father. We're in their lives, whether you're together or not. Mothers and fathers, whether you're together or not, you got to team up and still be in those children's lives. They need us. Right. Yes. And that's in our culture, I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have. We're either being selfish. We're not trying to be in our children's lives. We're not getting in their business because that's how and that's a whole nother topic. That's how a lot of this. That's what you mean your business. Open your room door.
Unless we selling cookies together, you ain't got no business.
We got to get into that stuff and stay into that stuff. Right. Kids not feeling like we care about them. I think that's a big issue.
Well, I think with teenagers, you always gonna like. Most teenagers are going to go through a period of rebellion because their whole biology is changing at the time. So they're gonna buck you a little bit. So in a lot of that regard, it's a listen to me now, believe me later on. Take things that way. Whenever they run into the fact that things aren't what they appear to be, they have the thought of what you told them to refer to. You're gonna have that rebellion at that certain age out of a lot of kids anyway. But to go back to what you were saying about. I parented like completely opposite of you. Like I didn't keep my sons from anything, but we talked about whatever it was they were looking at, why that was fake, why that is, what happens to your body. Because we talk about like when they get to a certain age, other things start creeping into their mind, like sexually, like it's not anything that it'll happen whether you see things or not. You know what I mean? So we talked about that. I remember. When I was growing up, certain things are going on with me, and that's right when my dad got in church. And so it was just like, you don't think about that at all, son. You know what I mean? But I was able to kind of talk to my mom because she had been in church for a long time, and she realized it was a process. My dad was like, I'm gonna be Jesus today. You know what I'm saying? And that was the worst time for me to be able to do that. So I made sure. And I had a wonderful father, don't get me wrong, and I know what he was trying to do, and he was just new in it. But with my sons, we talked about everything. That way it was not culture shock. And I don't disagree with I think there's multiple ways to get to a common end. So I don't knock anybody.
And I definitely agree with that because all 4 of my kids have total different personalities, and I have to deal with them all differently. Like, my strong-headed son, you can't come at him a certain way because he just ain't gonna have it.
Right.
Now I know that there's a whole lot of people who be like, bet he have a bat upside his head, but see, I've learned how to deal with
That's
it.
right.
And I've
You know
learned
your
how,
children.
I've learned how you gotta come at him so that you can have the positive impact. Cause see, the first thing that we're thinking is, I'm gonna knock you out. That's what we learned. But this is the thing that we didn't learn about that, is that violence begets violence.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you can learn a different way to do it, do that.
That's my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I have, like I said, I have a 9 and 6-year-old. My 6-year-old, you can't come at him like that because he will totally either shut down or he's gonna come back with it harder.
Right.
I have to come at him with sit down right there and don't get back up. If I and it seems like, because people are probably like, he's 6, you punch him upside the head and keep on going. No, if I tell him to sit right there and don't get back up, that destroys him. I mean, I'm not just meaning destroys him a bit. It just it changes him.
Right.
And he sits there and he's just like a totally different child. But my other one, I can just look at him and he will break down crying. He's just very soft-hearted. So I got those 2 different children. Like you said, you have to deal with them 2 separate ways, 2 different ways.
And the fact that you realize that you have to, and you realize, and I realize myself, with my 2, they polar opposites. That's just parenting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not just in that you're going to do what I said you're going to do and everything else. The fact that you're able to be a little bit, malleable and adaptive to how both kids are to get the best out of both of them, that's just parenting.
Yeah,
period.
that's what's up.
Yeah, that's all that is.
And I think people need to hear that. They need to be validated in that way to, so that they don't feel like total failures. Because there are parents that are really out there trying to do the best that they know how. But, you got these people on them, they just be like, if you should have been prepared for this, and who's prepared to be a parent?
That's exactly right. My mama never came to me and said, "Let me teach you how to be a mother."
Right.
Yeah.
She never told me about the nights that I stayed up in the middle of the night with one eye open, got my kid in my bed. She never told me about all of that. I might would have said, "You know what? Never mind, Lord. I'm good. I know I had a lot of miscarriages, but I'm good." If she would have told me about all of that different stuff, I probably wouldn't have wanted to sign up to be a mother.
And she may not have been able to, because that may not have been her experience.
That's it.
You're exactly right.
My oldest, the experience with him was completely different than the experience than my second one. You know what I mean? He was more demanding. He cried a whole lot more. You know what I mean? He woke up in the middle of the night.
The second one?
Yeah. And my oldest, he slept through. In fact, he came out. You know what I mean? He came out smiling.
I tell people all the time, if my second one would have been first, I'd have one child.
Wow. I feel you.
I won't necessarily say that, but my first one, she needed a little more attention than my second one. And I was like, "Mama, y'all just come get her. I can't do this. And they came and they literally had to come and take her for a couple of days. But with the second one,
Cake.
That's it.
we like this.
Yeah. That's what's up.
The first one, we like this now.
Right.
But the second one, since day one, we like this.
One thing I do want to touch on, and I hope I might be opening up another can of worms, but I think a very, very, very important issue when it comes to issues with us is that we don't know where we came from. We don't know what we were before we got here. Because, a lot of people, you think back to slavery and that's it. We were somewhere doing something before we got here.
Yes.
And I can't tell you, I have an idea. I've researched more than the average person you can go out and touch. You can touch 5 people and not touch 5 people who have looked into the background beyond that. And, the fact that we weren't able to speak our own language, the fact that we weren't able to, whatever it was we were doing religiously, we don't know. We have no idea. You was walled off from all that. You had to learn their language. You had to take their name. They didn't allow you to sing and dance and all this other stuff because that was considered evil. You know what I mean? And it's all everywhere now in American culture. It's here because of, you know what I mean? Yeah. For real. So we don't. I think it's very important that we don't know everything about ourselves before the tragedy that's slavery, because we were forced. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. We were forced to be something else.
Yes.
That's a major problem, because most of the people who are here from other places, they're tied to a land somewhere, and a culture was tied to them being tied to that land, and we have no idea what it is.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that would help out a lot. And it's out there to be it's out there to be learned. You just got it's not readily available.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was talking to somebody the other day and they made a good point. almost exactly what you're saying. They said a lot of children don't respect or understand themselves because they don't know a lot of the history of where they came from.
Correct.
Or where we were before, like you were just saying, where we were before, and they're not being taught that.
Yeah, because
Not by the parents, not by the teachers, nowhere. And if they don't go out there and I don't mean to cut you off, but if they don't go out there and look for it and try to get that information, or if somebody's not presenting it to them, they don't try to go and learn it.
Right. They don't know what's there. And for one, let's talk about the whole creature that is an African American. How old is that? That's not old at all. It was Afro American, then it was African American, it was Negro. Because even back in the Statesville newspaper, back when my dad was, in the paper for various reasons, they would say a Negro. 3 Negroes were in a car.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was like you were set apart anyway, and a Negro really didn't exist. These are all definitions that were put on us at that time. So an African American is new. In regards to, if you look at history as a whole. You know what I mean? So it's like we're trying to create our own culture out of another culture that was pushed on us.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Are we really?
Yeah. We could be. This is our struggling to fit into a culture that's not naturally ours, and social norms that we didn't come from. That could be sort of a mental thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. We could have some kind of syndrome or something because we don't know who we are.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, we don't know what's wrong with us either. That's sad. Like.
I was looking at a picture. I was in Cracker Barrel the other day, and my coworker and I were sitting there eating, and I looked up right above her head. There was a picture. The picture had to be from the 1800s or something like that. It was a picture of about 6 or 7 African Americans on a picture. Like I said, they had on suits. The women were dressed up very nice.
I saw that.
And I was looking at the picture. I said, "Where was that?" That was way back in the day, and I really want to research that and find out where that was, where they were, in a time like that. Where were they? That's the kind of things that we need to research and we need to teach our children.
Yeah, I know. It probably happened a whole lot more often than we think, but that's just not what's.
We don't see it.
Back then, there was a whole lot more control over what was saw. Right. Now, you got social media, but social media is a double-edged sword. The good part of it is there's not one big umbrella thing controlling exactly what you see. You have a variety of things you can see, and that can be helpful as well as hurtful, but I wouldn't want to be without the options.
When we see what they're doing on stage or whatever, it is glorified. It's like, okay, so they're not getting any repercussions. Like one of these sayings that I saw on social media one time was, it's a real art to be able to take a hoe and turn her into a woman. And they had a picture of a woman that was dressed kind of like back in the day. You'd have been looking at that like, that's a little hoish.
Yeah. That's not desirable at all.
Yeah. But now today it's glorified. So now what our kids are getting and what everybody else is getting is, that's the way to be. Why? Because everybody loves you when you're like that. And everybody awards you when you're like that. So forget about culture and everything else. Let's do what's going to get us the money and the women and the fame and all of that. That is a serious challenge because it's not only in the minds of our kids, it's in the minds of adults.
Come on.
No, that's true. Because I would say for a fact, this is something that I noticed. I brought it up to somebody, and I don't know, they might have got a little offended or whatever, but I was like, even the people, when you look at just regular pics on Facebook, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, all about God and everything else. But maybe you got on a nice suit or whatever, but you got a picture with your booty poked out. You turned around looking back at you. You know what I mean? It happens all the time.
It does.
So that's a little sprinkling of that. Yeah. That hoe.
You're right.
For real. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and even if you look on dating sites, you see that.
Yeah.
You see a lot of that stuff where, you know what I'm saying? I want a man who puts God first and everything else. You know what I mean? And I'm not about a booty call you see that all the time.
But you taking the picture.
But you taking the picture, you all provocative in the bed. Like you ain't saying this is what you gonna get in a year. Right. You know what I'm saying? You ain't saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude look at that and be like, the night. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's like, there's a look. It's in there. It's real. It's out there like that too. Because I understand the fact that you need to. The first thing that usually draws you to a person is a physicality. It's a physical attraction. But your booty out. That's all I'm saying. You poking your booty out. You know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to think?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I to speak to what you're saying.
Hard stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but we gotta do something.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't know what the answer is, but there's got to be a resolve.
Well, I don't know, because history is a series of repeating and this, and so sometimes some things are better left. And I'm not saying that this is totally, but sometimes things are better left as you just let it go, like go down the street.
Goes cycle.
Just run its cycle, because
Right.
People are going to learn. And I always tell my kids, I say, you're going to learn either from what I tell you, or you're going to let life teach you.
That's right.
And so when we got such a huge, like I'm going to say it's like hypnotism over the people with all of this stuff, there's not a whole lot you can do. You can fight this fight all you want to. But it's kind of like what Bugs Bunny and them used to say, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm not saying I'm going to join them.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, just let this cycle play out. And it may end up having to play out in some serious trouble. But the trouble always gets you to kind of be like, up. We gotta check what we're doing.
Right.
Because even in the Bible, all of those times God was always like, I'm your God. I got you. How many times did Israel still yet, after the generations was going on and on and on, turn around and do something crazy? So I'm just like, okay, so we do the same thing. So let's, sometimes just kind of let that play out, and then let's see what kind of, mess that we have to get in, so we can turn back and say, okay, that was too much.
Yeah.
That's too far. Let's figure out a different way to do this.
And plus go ahead.
But with the way stuff is progressing, how much is too much?
Yeah.
How far is too far?
Yeah.
Because now you see on TV stuff that we did not see when we were growing up.
True.
And I'm sitting here like, they're playing that? Oh my God, turn
They
it,
said
turn it, turn it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
A show
saying?
on- a
So
show.
how far, I get what you're saying, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, is it gonna actually be like real life intercourse now?
Yeah.
Are we there now? Because there for a while, they was up under the sheet. Now they're getting you seeing body parts and stuff, and I'm like, turn it.
My children can't even watch children's shows anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
nowadays, because I heard them say on one of the shows, one of the kids said something about horny, and I was like, what? He didn't really say that. He did not really say that. It was like a Disney show or something, but I guess it was one of the teen shows or something. And I was like, no, I don't want to have to explain to my 9 and 6-year-old.
There you go.
I mean, yes, there's a point where I do have to explain that. I'm not ready for that right now,
Brian Bruner explained it right then. I said it right then. They knew how they got here early. But I told them, from a purely biological standpoint. I did that. I know when some people, you think about sex, period. In a lot of ways, it's very biological. When your body changes, like with females, whenever they start to come into their menstruation or whatever, your body's saying, I'm ready to make babies. Yeah, and that urge and everything else is why you want to do it, why you kind of go that way. It can be purely biological. I think I'm probably going to get a little pushback on this, but, to make it evil and lustful and everything else, I believe it's biological.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even when women hit their prime, whenever they get older in their life, it's like, hey, we running out of baby time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make some more for you, can't. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I sort of agree, because the one thing that I really despised as I got older, and I'm not gonna say despise is probably too strong of a word. I just didn't like it that we were taught that sex was like this dirty thing, this dirty word, and so it was like you couldn't see the great side of it, because it really is a great side of it. But this is the thing. It's one of the easiest things to do for number one. That we complain about making babies and all of this stuff. It's one of the easiest things to do. It is something that draws you. You don't even have to have any kind of stimulation. People say you can't miss what you never had. That's not true.
True, yeah.
It is one of those things that is innate in us, and we act like it's not.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
yeah, it is. It totally is. Like when people say, my flesh, my flesh, my flesh. Well, that's really what it is. It is that biology,
right?
So you are fighting that. You know what I mean? And like animals do it freely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
we need some kind of control.
when we have social norms that that we keep from doing it.
Yeah.
But it's purely about like your body saying, because that way you never. It's kind of a way of never dying at the end of the day. And when you say you can't miss what you never had, the person who had you had that, and your genes, their genes are in you.
Okay.
So you've had it. You've had it through generation to
Come on
generation.
now.
So it's talking through you.
Yes,
You say that all you want to.
One of the strongest desires ever.
Ladies, this has been really, really real. Now I think we could do like 5-6 more shows on this, but
Absolutely.
We really kind of would like to know what some of you think. You might have some ideas that we didn't think about, some causes, and maybe even some solutions that we hadn't thought about. And we'd like to hear what you have to say about it in the comment section. So say whatever's on your mind. Feel free. I know you will anyway.
Fire.